I have not been hurt in the 3 years I've been lifting with you, which I think is like so amazing. Not that I expected to get hurt, but I think the way that my body can support itself because it's just stronger. I still am crawling into my SUV, into the third row, like contorting myself to jump back there to,
Right.
buckle my 3-year-old. I love that I can just bound in my car, reach around and get the thing. And
awesome. Yeah.
All of that stuff is, I don't know, it's just so valuable to me. I love it so much.
Absolutely. I tell people too, is like, if you're hurting when you're lifting weights or whatever, there may be something you're doing wrong, or maybe you don't have to do that exercise. I would say to try to see if your form's wrong first and adjust from there, but sometimes you say, you know what, maybe this one exercise is just not for me.
It feels fitting that this morning I'm recording the intro to Zach Pello, my trainer's episode that we did together, because I got a PR this morning on my deadlift, which I'm very proud of. And I'm coming up on 3 years of lifting with Zach and like a small group of women. And it has been just like really anchoring, like part of my routine is to go and lift 2 days a week with Zach. So I just wanted to share with you, as I've spent time with him for another year, learned more just about like lifting, I wanted to have him jump on the pod and just share with you like what he talks to me about when we're lifting together in the morning. So I traditionally just do twice a week. Sometimes I'm able to get there a third time. I'd love to do it more. It's just not what my life allows. And so I'm like super at peace with that. And I was very much a beginner when I started lifting with Zach. I just felt like I knew just like, from like reading headlines, not even like in-depth articles, that weightlifting and resistance training is really important as you age. I had this baby at 40 years old. And so I'm just really thoughtful about longevity. Like I tell my girls once a week, I'm going to live to be 102 years old. And so I have to make choices at 43 years old that help me live to be 102 years old. So I want to be strong. I want to not get hurt. I want to not like tweak myself when I'm like jumping in the third row of the vehicle to, do things and lifting 10,000 pounds of Costco every week. So anyway, I'm doing it for just functional health. I'm doing it so that I'm like strong, not just the way that I look, but like things I can't see in my body, that part of me is really healthy too. So whether you are experienced at like resistance training and this is a part of the way that you do your life, I'm sure that you're still going to pick up some tidbits from my conversation with Zach. He's been training predominantly women for 20 years. Love working with people who like, this is what they do, like literally this is what he does. Postpartum bodies, he's used to that, whatever. And if you're a beginner, Zach is also very versed in working and helping beginners. I mean, I was very much a beginner. I was like 8-9 months postpartum. After Quincy, when I started working with Zach, I was really in rough shape. I was not an athlete growing up. I probably don't need to articulate that to you. You probably already know that. But like being in the weight room was not a thing. And it was not part of my like vocabulary. And I think one of life's great gifts is like when we're willing to be beginners again, when we're willing to walk in and kind of fumble around. And like at the beginning, the app was like, it was overwhelming to my brain. Just like all this stuff, when you don't know something, it's hard. And when you're used to being like really capable and competent at your life, it can be really difficult to like be comfortable being kind of dumb and like not good at it and like starting with hardly any weight and like all that kind of stuff. That beginner mindset, I think, gets harder and harder and harder as we get older. So anyway, this was definitely a beginner mindset journey for me. I'm 3 years in. If you would have told me, I don't know, it's been a slow and steady race for me. I've lost about 20 pounds over the last 3 years. And there was never like one quarter where I dropped it all. It's just like, I don't like to be in a big calorie deficit. I have a really big, crazy life. It's just like not what I like to do. And so slow and steady wins the race. It's like my new mantra. I talk about sustainability all the time. And I'm all about layering really small behaviors over a long period of time because I got a lot going on, a lot I want to do, and a big life of and I want to live. So anyway, okay, enough of my preaching. Listen to my conversation with Zach. Okay, guys, we're back on the pod with Zach Pello. This is the third time he's been on the show, and I'm recording it in February because this is my personal 3-year anniversary of lifting and working out with you, which is awesome because I am not very disciplined. And so to say that I have been working with you for 3 years feels like a modern miracle. And I'm very proud of it. I'm very, very proud of it. It's awesome.
You should be proud of it too. I mean, 3 years is amazing with all that you have going on in your life. And I think you are a disciplined person, but you have discipline going so many different directions. And to be able to commit to the last 3 years and be consistent has been amazing. So I appreciate you doing that, but also having me on your podcast as well. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So we're going to talk, kind of just bring my listeners in on the conversations that you and I are having in the mornings when we're lifting and working out. If you have not heard me talk to Zach before and kind of my own minimums and what I do is I go to a gym that's like 20 minutes from my house. It's not actually that terribly convenient. I go to a gym at 6 o'clock in the morning, and Zach writes programs for us that last 6 weeks. And inside of those programs, there are three different workouts that go for 6 weeks. And it's from 6 to 7 a.m. That's the time period that I most often go to. And there are up to 3 women that are working out together. So it's like small group training, but we're doing things like bench press and leg press and deadlifts. And I love it. I feel very tough and strong when I'm doing it.
And you are tough. I mean, it's just great to see these ladies build a community and support each other and feel confident in the gym and creating space for themselves in the gym, and so I'm just happy to be a part of that.
Yeah, it's been really fun. I think we have this awesome culture where we really are rooting for each other and we're not staring at ourselves in the mirror the whole time. It's like really great. I love the vibe of it.
Absolutely. And I think that's the great thing is it's like a little bit more private. Like it's still group. It's not as big as say CrossFit where you have 10, 12 people in a group. So you can create some of those little bit smaller connections, which is kind of nice.
I definitely know my way around a gym much more than I did 3 years ago, but I still keep paying Zach. I still keep going to this group because it is a huge part of my own accountability traps. It is easy to hit snooze for 20 more minutes and miss your workout. It is easy to say you're just too tired on a Monday morning. It's easy. Like it is just so easy to say no to yourself. And so this is a really important trap for me that I set, and I pay the money, and all of that is part of me, part of my accountability process. So, okay. So what I thought we'd do is talk specifically. I'm 43 years old, and the way that you start thinking about taking care of your body, I think when you get to middle-aged, wherever that means, is you want not just to live a long time, but to have health and vitality and to be able to pick your kids up and run across the backyard and like still live fully in your body and in your life. So I thought we'd talk about that. How do you think about weightlifting and exercise and progressive overload that you train towards? How do we understand that well so that it can help us age gracefully? So let's talk just with kind of an overview of, I think weightlifting is kind of having its moment. When I was growing up, it was like Arnold Schwarzenegger and like Gold's Gym and like ripped tank tops, kind of vibes. And it's changing a lot in a lot of ways. I think that's good. So what are the weightlifting benefits for anyone? But let's talk specifically maybe about women because it's who you train and it's who I am.
The first most important one for a lot of women is going to be bone density. As you age, that gets worse. And this is one of the ways to help fight against that. And I think that's something that is, people just don't think about it very often until they're later in life. And then they realize, oh man, I need to do something about this. But there's also so many other benefits on top of that, for your health in terms of blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, and keeping a healthy body weight. And these are all like, we're talking, more like your regular markers for health. Of course, having more muscle mass has also been tied to longevity as well. And that's really important. Strength has been tied to longevity as well, too. So we have all these benefits that are, non-psychological. That's something we could talk about as well, but just physical benefits right off the top. And then to think functionally, picking up your kids, being able to just go for a hike right away. Strength is one of those things that really, because as we age, the biggest detriment to our health is how we have a decline in activity. And then because we have aches and pains and arthritis, we do less and less and less. We become weaker and weaker. And that right there is one of the biggest ways we can age ourselves. And so weightlifting is kind of the fountain of youth. in staying active and keeping moving.
One of the things you said to me when I first started training with you that I did not believe, because I just hurt everywhere, is I said, I really feel like I need to do yoga because I feel like I don't have flexibility. My lower back was hurting me a lot. And you said weightlifting will increase your flexibility. In my head, I was like, no, well, but it has. It's wild because you can explain why it is, but when
Yes.
you're down in a squat and you having to, it pushes your body down, your
Yeah.
hips down. I'm so much more
Yeah.
flexible.
That's such a common
But it doesn't,
myth.
I'm like, well, no, you have less flexibility because you're lifting weights, but it was not, it's wild.
You're
So much
exactly
more
right. Yeah.
flexibility.
And the studies have shown that like it compared to stretching, if you lift your weights to a stretch, of course, it's like if you're stretching, you don't feel a stretch, you're not going to get more flexible. But if you're lifting to where it's stretching your body, you will improve your mobility better than stretching alone. And so, yeah, like if you're working on getting that range of motion, you are going to improve your flexibility with weightlifting. And building muscle doesn't make you less flexible either. I think that it stems from the idea that like, you get sore so you feel tight. So you automatically assume like weightlifting is making you tight, but it's just that soreness for the couple of days that it does that. So yeah, I mean, that's a huge benefit. And I've increased my mobility so much in the last couple of years, focusing on form and range of motion with my weightlifting. I mean, it used to be all about weight, but there's a little bit more to it than that.
I have not been hurt in the 3 years I've been lifting with you, which I think is like so amazing. Not that I expected to get hurt, but I think the way that my body can support itself because it's just stronger. I look like I still am crawling into my SUV, into the third row, like contorting myself to jump back there to,
Right.
buckle my 3-year-old. And I'm like, I love that I can just bound in my car, like
Yeah,
reach
that's
around
awesome.
and get the
That
thing.
is
And like
awesome. Yeah,
all of that stuff is, I don't know. It's just so valuable to me. I love it so much.
absolutely.
So
I tell people too, is like if you're hurting when you're lifting weights or whatever, there may be something you're doing wrong, or maybe you don't have to do that exercise. I would say to try to see if your form's wrong first and adjust from there, but sometimes you say, you know what, maybe this one exercise is just not for me. I mean, if you had hours to spend to figure it out, sure, go ahead and do that. But many of us don't have that kind of time. So you work on it a little bit and then eventually you might just say, you know what, I'm okay with not doing that one.
yeah, you have things in your shoulders. There's some women that work out where they just can't. There's
Yeah.
certain things that just hurt them. And so you're just like, that's fine. Let's work around it. We don't have to
Exactly.
do that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about, you and I were having this conversation a couple days ago about how, in your observation, women that are in their 40s and 50s and the way that they think about weightlifting and how fast they're going to get success and how hard they are on themselves versus when you're training kind of today's 20 and 30-year-olds, the difference that you see. Let's talk about that for a little bit.
This is such an interesting thought I've had recently with clients. I've noticed over the years, I've trained, women that are now 40s and 50s. 10 years ago, they were in their 30s. And I feel like they were in this mindset of a few things. Number one, they were very focused on just body weight and the scale. Number one. Number two, they were really worried about gaining muscle and fearful it would make them look bad. And they were very impatient with, again, weight loss on the scale. It's like it was all about the scale. And as I've trained more and more women coming out of college, it's so interesting to me because they are so much easier on themselves when it comes to the rate at which they lose weight on the scale. Number one, they always talk about how I know it's not just the weight. I'm okay. I just want to feel better in my skin. And so they've taken some of that out of the equation. They also are wanting to get stronger in the gym, and they're okay with building some muscle because they know it makes them more shapely in the areas they want to be shapely. And especially nowadays, like a lot of the ladies, they want to get their glutes more shaped and things like that. So that they're in there doing deadlifts and, you see them squatting 200 pounds or something. It's pretty cool to see the difference. I mean, it just wasn't like that 20 years ago.
I get so inspired. There's some older women that work out in the gym at 5:36 in the morning and they're, in their mid 60s, some maybe even in their early 70s, and they are so strong and even the way they carry themselves
Yeah.
is so confident because just like their, I don't know, musculoskeletal or whatever that word
Yeah,
is, it's
absolutely.
just like really fun. I'm like, that is as, I don't know, like inspiring to me as anything.
Yeah, and there's a trainer at the gym I know you see all the
Yeah.
time. He's like 70 years old.
Uh-huh.
And this guy, I mean, he stands up with good posture. He's deadlifting weight way more than I could deadlift. You know, he doesn't seem to have any issues.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it's rad. It's
It's
super
pretty
cool.
cool.
Okay, so you focus on progressive overload is the
Yeah.
style of training that you ascribe to, that you prescribe to us
Yep.
as your
Yep.
clients. Let's talk about what that is and why you think it's so effective.
You know, when you're training, a lot of people just go in haphazardly and just do a workout. They're just going by feel. With progressive overload, the idea is that over time, you have to be able to increase your workload. So you can do that by increasing, you know, say you go up 5 pounds on your squat, or say you go up 2 reps on your rows, or say you slow down your reps. So instead of doing a rep that takes 3 seconds, now it takes 5 seconds with the same weight. So any way you're able to make it more challenging over time is the key. So from day 1 to 1 year, you should be up on almost all of your exercises, especially if you're just starting out. It's pretty impressive. If you do the workouts, you can see like the last week you did 10, this week, wow, I got 14 reps. How the heck did that happen in 1 week? So it's pretty cool. And this is the ultimate measure. And if you just go in there randomly, a lot of people are missing out on this, and they're just getting their heart rate up. They're getting a workout, but they don't really know what they lifted a year ago or 3 months ago. And a few things that kind of go into that is number one, having an actual program, just like you were talking about earlier, how I write up a program every 6 weeks for you guys that you follow, that you can actually look at your progress week to week and actually log your progress week to week. And I think a lot of times people might be like, oh, that's a lot of work. But I'll tell you what, as you know, it's fun when you see like, wow, I've gone up 20 pounds on this exercise in the last 3 months. That feels so good in terms of your mental confidence. And it's empowering to feel that.
So that's some of the like just sense of like giving us a sense of accomplishment, but what it's actually changing our structure of our body when we're doing that too. I had never written a workout down in my life, I don't think. I'd like followed like a half marathon training program with probably 50% compliance knowing me. But I had never like written down reps and like done the same machines like 6 weeks in a row and all that kind of stuff. And it does at the beginning you're sort of like it takes a hot minute to get mentally oriented to like, what am I writing down and what is this thing and what did I do last week? But you are so good at just, I think, reminding us of the compounding impact of time. And when we do just a little bit more, like literally hold your last rep, which you're having me do so much right now, stay down in a squat for 5 seconds, your last one, and then try to get back up. That those little increments of effort week after week after week after week add an enormous amount of impact.
Yeah, if you don't continue to challenge your body, your body will actually regress. You know, you actually have to, and people will tell me, well, when does it stop? Well, I mean, like, honestly, it's never stopped for me. But there were times in my life where I was stronger, but there were things that set you back, whether it's life or, say like, playing with the kids, I fell and got hurt, things set you back. And then as you switch up your exercises every 6, 8 weeks, you kind of are a little bit reset on those new exercises again. And then you have to build those back up again. But that's how you build muscle. That's how you actively build strength. That's how you build better muscular endurance. Like if you just do the same constantly, you will not change at all. Your body will not change. And if that's okay with you, that's actually fine. But you have to ask yourself, is that okay with you? Are you okay with just doing the thing and maintaining? And that's okay if it is.
Well, let's take a detour actually to this word maintaining.
Right.
So I listened to our episode from last year, earlier today, and you actually said like the work it takes to weigh the same every single year is actually a lot. You're like, if you never gain the 5 to 10 pounds, you don't actually have to become in weight loss mode. And I think I weigh within a pound or two of what I did last year. Like, this has been a year of full maintenance for me. Like,
Yeah.
there has been maybe 4 calorie deficit days, just I'm literally living in the pocket of what is sustainable. I am not doing anything else. But I've gotten a lot stronger this year, I would say. Don't you say?
Absolutely.
I've like definitely
Yeah.
continued to add weight, but it's not necessarily put weight on the scale.
Right.
Maybe I've exchanged 1.5 pounds of muscle for 1.5 pounds of fat. I don't know my body composition that specifically. But I would say I feel proud of being able to weigh the same
Yes.
in spite of so much just busyness. And I'm like, that gives me confidence that my minimums are serving a really sustainable, healthy life. I'm still putting stress on my body. I'm still working out. I'm still pushing myself, but I'm just at a super sustainable place. And I think that is an exciting point of arrival for me. Sure, on tired days, I wish I weighed 10 pounds less, but mostly I'm just really happy with
Yeah. It's
the
amazing.
freedom I have.
It's amazing. It's so freeing. You don't have to put so much of your mind power to it all the time. I think people forget that. Like, if you ask people, when was the last time they stopped thinking about losing weight? So many people will tell you, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sad, that their life is consumed by that.
Mm-hmm.
And getting away from that. I mean, it's okay to have a goal like that, but being able to focus on being okay with maintenance at times, that's so powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you guys just had your 4th kid. Like, you've not been in a season, although you're going to train for a competition, which is insane. But there's seasons where you've got new kids, you've got a lot of things going on. I am just not the main event in my house right now. And so to put all of this infrastructure around change for me personally is just not
exactly
just not where we're at.
So you got to figure out, what's the amount that works for your lifestyle right now?
Mm-hmm.
And there are times when you're going to be able to push your fitness to another level. But even doing what you're doing now, you are getting stronger and you see that progress. And there's something about that that's not scale related to be able to actually measure and see objective progress week to week. And it's something where, as a mom, you're in a business owner, you're taking so much of your time and putting in all these other areas, but it's like you're able to focus on yourself for just, 2-3 hours a week in total and see real measurable progress. And you don't have to have the emotion of food in there and all this other stuff. It's so uplifting to focus on getting stronger.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
So how much is enough? I work out, let's call it 2 to 4.5 hours a week. It's not a massive pie chart of my time. How much is enough?
I think what's really cool about this, and this is going with cardio, but I just want to say this real quick. I started adding 10 minutes of cardio 5 days a week. And that's about an hour almost. I'm actually up to 12 minutes. Okay. All right. We're kicking butt.
I love this.
All right. And it's an hour a week, right? But what is amazing is I've seen progress. My heart rate, I have to go to a higher
incremental.
Yeah. I got to go to a higher level now. It's pretty amazing. Now, and I'm tying this to weightlifting. So,
well, what are you doing? Are you running? Are you walking? Stairmaster.
Yep. My goal is to keep my heart rate at a certain range, and it's easy for me to measure progress by how high the level is, the speed. So, but with weightlifting, the same thing. You've got your weights, you've got your reps, right? And so, what's cool is you can test this. You could start out with 3 10-minute workouts a week, and I can guarantee you, if you have not been lifting, the next week, if you did the exact same workouts, you would be able to increase your reps or weight. I think 10 minutes 3 times a week is that's not going to be like, you're not going to get results from that like continuously for a long period of time. But I would say you can get most of your weightlifting benefits from probably 2 or 3 really heavy, like 30-minute lifting sessions, focusing on the main exercises that get kind of your whole body. You can get a lot of results from about an hour and a half or 2 hours a week in total. And I think the key is to minimize your time, is to identify, maybe what areas of your body you would like to improve the shape of, the areas of your body you'd like to be stronger at. That way you can do 30-minute workout and feel like you hit everything you wanted to hit. And that's the beautiful thing with weightlifting is you don't have to do everything. You don't have to do bicep curls. You You don't have to do calf raises, forearm curls. I mean, you can do like more lower body or more upper body, depending on what you want in your physique.
So to give people an idea, in our workouts take about an hour. We're doing how many exercises?
8 exercises. And that gives you like, that's the thing is I think people try to cram too much into their workouts and they end up turning it into a cardio session. If you're doing a cardio session, you're not lifting heavy. And so then you're not getting the benefits of what lifting heavy provides.
So we're doing 8 exercises and we're doing 3, what do you call it? Not reps.
3 sets.
3 sets. We're doing 3 sets of 8. So that's 24. So I would say each one doesn't take a minute necessarily to do. So we're under some type of load or tension for 25 minutes.
Right.
And the rest is rest and all that. So I had not thought about it that way before, but it's like 25
You're
minutes
exactly
under
right.
tension.
Yes. And so I think this is kind of
You couldn't put that into 30 minutes because
right. It would be crazy. Like you'd be rushing the whole time. And that leads us to like kind of thinking about, there was a study that showed that, say these people worked out for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and one group they did half the amount of sets and rested twice as long. The other group did twice the amount of sets and cut their rest in half. And what was amazing was that both groups got the same results. So you could choose to go in there and say, you know what? I want to get stronger. I'm going to take my rest between my sets. I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to squeeze out what I can out of every set and take rest periods and have this kind of like not feeling like I'm all over the place, like going up like blah, going crazy. Or I could go crazy and feel like I'm dying at the end of the workout and get the same result. And it's like, that's what we don't need in our life right now. We need a little bit of quiet, a little bit of calm. And then again, it's like, if you actually want to feel like you're lifting some weight and getting stronger, like you need the rest periods in there. But people are so worried, like, well, then I'm not fitting in as much as I can.
Yeah, it takes a minute to get your brain around that. Yeah. Or now I'll be like, can you put 20 more pounds on so I can do half the reps?
Yes, that's the way to go. See, like that's what we want.
So many.
Yeah, like I'm doing my lunges and I do a set like really heavy for 10 on one leg and then I'll rest a minute and a half. Then I'll do my other leg. I mean, my goal is to like lift with intensity on the set I'm doing, not be dying in between the sets. And
it takes a minute to learn all that.
Yeah, and getting away from like a calorie burn focus. Like that is a big trap because you don't look at the calories burned. Don't think of it like that when you're lifting weights. Ask yourself, did I add more weight to the bar? Did I go up from last week? That's way more important than the feel or the burn or the systemic just burnout of your body. And, we are overworked. We got kids. We're sleep deprived. We don't need to be beating ourselves up that much.
So that actually triggered for me feeling sore because I was like, I don't feel sore anymore. Does that mean I'm not working as hard as I think? And you had a good response because I was like, I just don't feel sore. And am I not working hard? Because I think I am. Yeah.
So a lot of times, like, first of all, what I tell people is if you're adding weight and reps to the bar every week, like you're doing enough work, right? Like if you are seeing progress every week, it doesn't matter if you're sore or not. Soreness is just a byproduct that can happen. What's really cool about this though, soreness is basically a response to a chemical that's released. Your body senses, oh, we have muscle damage here. So it releases a chemical and it irritates the nerve endings. But what happens is your nerve endings just get accustomed to that chemical. And it does not mean that there's not muscle damage there. So 6 weeks later, you've been doing the same program. You're probably not going to get sore from that program, but I bet you're still getting stronger. And actually under a microscope, you're still getting muscle damage. You just don't feel that soreness anymore. And you know what it's like. You put the bar on your back for squats and it used to be painful. Everybody complains about it. I'm like, don't put a pad on there. Just get used to it. After a while, like you don't feel the pain anymore, yet you actually have more pressure on those structures. Same with foam rolling. If you foam roll 3-4 times a week, it will become less painful. And a lot of that is actually desensitizing your nerve endings. so you don't feel that pain anymore. The same pressure is applied, but your body realizes this is not dangerous. This is fine. Your body can recover from it. And that's where the pain goes away. But people think, oh, soreness is important. So, if you really wanted to get sore all the time from your workout, skip a week every other week. When you go to work out, and it's like, you really think you're going to get better results taking a week off every other week? Probably not, right? But you're going to get sore.
Yeah, right. When you come back.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else you want to say on the exercise part?
I think, getting away from making it cardio and calorie burns, those are huge. Trying to get away from the calorie burn focusing on progressive overload. Rest periods, I would say like 90 seconds to 2 minutes is good. I see a lot of people, if they're doing like a 30-second break, they probably didn't lift heavy enough or hard enough, Yeah, I think we covered most of the benefits, I think, and just feeling empowered and all those health benefits too is huge. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so let's take a little pit stop in nutrition. There's a lot of information out there.
Yeah.
I feel like you are good at just simplifying things.
Yep.
I even love the 10 minutes of cardio a day. I'm like, I could get to the gym 15 minutes before we lift and, get in a half hour to 45 minutes of cardio that I'm not doing right now. It's only one more drive. Nothing is happening between 5:30 and 5:45 in my life, in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
15 minutes of sleep is not going to change. Like that is a very accessible thing to do.
Yep.
That would give me some heart rate push a little bit, and I don't have to do another thing. I don't have to wash another set of clothes. I don't like all the things that come with just the downstream effect of changing it from more than 2 to 3 times a week, which is hard for me. So how would you simplify the nutrition side?
This is always a really interesting topic because there's a lot of holes you can go down with nutrition. Simplifying it helps though, I think. And so there's the whole calories in, calories out debate. I don't think it should be a debate. I think that we have to understand the complexity of calories in versus calories out, because there's a lot of things that affect that equation. Your hormones, all these things, right? Your gut. There's so many things that impact it. However, it still remains true. And I think there's a better equation though. Instead of calories in, it should be calories absorbed versus calories out, because we don't absorb all the calories we consume. But there are some factors like if you eat processed foods, right? Like the more processed foods you eat, the more calories you absorb, number one, and the less calories it takes to break it down. So yes, food quality does matter. Yes, hormones affect the equation because it lowers your metabolism or it increases your appetite or it reduces your movement outside of exercise. There's so many factors here. I still think it's important, number one, to maybe do a 2-week food journal every single day for 2 weeks. Just see where you are. Some people are really against tracking their calories. And I always remind people, tracking calories is not a diet. Tracking calories is a journal to see where you are. And it's not the habit. The habit is, what does tracking calories do for you to understand about what you eat and what you can change, right? And so I think taking an audit of 2 weeks, see where you are, and be 100% honest about it. So that way, where you're in control. You know what I mean? Like put yourself in control. Don't deny it. And look at that. And I think then you can decide like, hey, you know what? After 2 weeks, I actually don't mind tracking. Or you can say, you know what? I don't want to track, but I see like, okay, I can improve here and there. Another way you could do is you say you don't track at all, right? And it's like just starting to replace processed foods with whole foods. Whole foods generally are less calorie dense. There's studies have shown if you let people eat more processed foods and you let people have another group that doesn't eat any processed foods, there's a 500 calorie difference on average. So we can say, there's something magical about the whole foods that made them lose weight. Well, they ate 500 calories less per day on average. That's what they showed. I mean, it was like legitimately they were eating less calories.
I had this experience literally last week. I thought about it. So I had, I think, accidentally, but on purpose, like 6 Oreo cookies, which is like almost 400 calories.
Yeah.
So, which is fine, whatever. But I was like, it would take 4 whole apples to be 400 calories. If
Not
you
even that.
made
Probably.
me
It'd take
eat,
like 6.
if you
Six
made me
apples.
eat 4 to 6 apples, I would run out of energy. Like there's no possible way.
Exactly.
So I did have that thought. I was like, that's so fascinating.
Yeah.
I probably could have eaten 6 more. You know what I mean?
Right?
Like
I
Oreos.
could've
Like it was just
easily,
like,
yeah.
I was like,
And it takes you 3 minutes.
or less.
And then you got another 57 minutes of like, say if you're watching a show, to sit there with nothing in your hands. And you're just like, what else can I eat over there? You know? I do it all the time.
Skinny pop.
Right.
Yeah.
But you
it's
take like apples or whole food, right? And it
Uh-huh.
takes you longer to eat it usually. And it's just processed foods. If we didn't have processed foods, we would not be in a situation we're in.
Yeah.
And I think that's like so important to understand that like the processed foods really wreak havoc on our bodies in terms of, and I'm not even against them.
Yeah, we have granola
Right.
bars and
Yeah, we do too.
Cheez-Its and Oreos in our house.
Right.
And we probably always will. But for me, it was awareness of like, this is a riot.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
Come
And just
on.
having consciousness
That's-
of like,
So,
Yeah.
and I mean, I had a client recently, she started tracking. And so the doctor, or the pharmacy rep came in, she's a nurse, and brought in some food, and she didn't think anything of it. She tracked it. It was like a sub from someplace, and it was a salad and a cookie. The total was 1,500 calories. And she just couldn't believe it because she's like, I eat this stuff. This didn't seem like that much food. It felt pseudo healthy. And I'm like, look, this is good information because now you know like 1,500 calories with this meal. If you were going to splurge on a 1,500 calorie meal, is that the meal you would splurge on? Or would you rather have pizza? Or would you rather have a burger, fries, and a beer? Me, that's what I would rather have versus a sub and a salad and a cookie. I don't know. I'd rather have the burger, fries, and a beer, right? Like, so it's a really eye opener. And I think we have to have the balance. But I think that the whole issue comes around from the definitely processed foods being convenient, us not thinking about the preparation of the food, all that kind of stuff. And so we do have to make a transition to less and less processed foods and alcohol too. I mean, holy Toledo. I mean, I think people are doing a lot more alcohol than they should be. And it's easy for me to say since I stopped drinking alcohol 2 weeks ago.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. We just don't. That's its own episode.
Mhm.
We don't hardly drink at all anymore.
It just doesn't serve you,
Yeah, and there's just a lot going on, and we've got teenagers now,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
sort of like it's fine. It doesn't need
Right.
to be. One of the things my husband and I have found is a very simple. If I feel like the scale's creeping up or my pants are getting tight, is we'll just not eat after 7 p.m.
That's huge.
It's just like one rule. It's like the rest
Yeah.
of the day I can,
Yep.
kind of stay in the zone. I'm again outside of my 6 Oreos. I don't have one vice that is pulling me under. Like, if I could just
Yeah.
get rid of regular soda,
Yep.
or if I could just, get rid of the
Yep.
bottle of wine. Mine is like, eat every shell on the taco I'm given. It's like those kinds. That's just who I am.
Well, yeah. And what are people eating after 7 p.m. most of the
Yeah,
time?
it's not that good. So
Wow.
that's kind of the one thing, so simple to manage. Every other choice can
Yep.
pretty much be in the lane of what it is. And yeah, you can probably 250 to 500 calories a day comes out just by making that choice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
100%.
that's an easy one for us. He's
Yeah.
better at it than I am at managing it. Babe, love you. You're good at it.
Great. Good for you.
And I'm like, I'm starting tomorrow. But really,
Yeah.
it does help a lot.
And
Yeah.
it does make a difference for
very
men
easy.
and women too.
Mm-hmm.
Men and women. Men have much higher, gas tank in terms of calorie burn naturally,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not fair. It really isn't. It's just the reality of it.
Yeah,
And
it's just
and
composition.
if being a woman, if a woman's 5'1" and doesn't exercise, I mean the metabolism is very low in terms of what they can eat, and I feel for women and people that are smaller in stature.
Yeah, it would
Big
be a
time.
big bummer.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
tall and what do I say? Strong like bull.
Strong like bull. I know.
These German
I know.
jeans.
That's right. Yes. We've got to hashtag that. I just keep thinking
Strong
about
like
it.
bull.
Yes.
Well, we will wrap with that.
Cool.
Zach, thanks for joining me today. You do have a couple of spots. You don't
Yeah.
always, but right now there's a
Yep.
couple spots open. So if you live in the Zionsville, Carmel area, I know a lot of people listening do, and you're looking for a trainer, you can come to
Yeah.
the gym with me and the rest of the ladies. You also
Absolutely.
have different time periods, not just 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And then you also do virtual training.
Yes.
If someone is not close and they're interested in a great program with progressive overload and on their journey to being strong like bull.
Strong like bull. No, I really appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, I'm always looking to add more women's groups. So like I said, as long as I can get 2 people in, we can create a new group for a time that might work for somebody that they can't make the 6 a.m. times or the 9 o'clock times. So I try to be flexible, but yeah, I would love to talk to anybody that just wants to chat and reach out. That's no problem.
Yeah. And the vibe is great. Whether you're a beginner or I've been doing it for 3 years.
Yeah.
Jane, who's worked out with you, she's been doing it for 12,
Yeah, probably
14 years, like for
Yeah.
forever. So, but there's people who are new too. You don't have to have, I had no vocabulary in the gym when I started. So
yeah, and it's a little bit, I try to keep it very beginner friendly. Absolutely. We're not doing these really complex exercises. My goal is to help people get in there and get started quick and start to see the progress of strength, from week 1.
awesome. Well, you can find Zach on Instagram and on Facebook,
Yeah.
and we'll drop all the links in the show notes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Along
so
with a way to
much.
find how to sign up for an intro if they're interested in working with you, Zach.
That sounds great. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Scared Confident. Until next time, keep telling fear, you will not decide what happens in my life. I will.